We have some urgent and breaking news happening right now with Tezos. It has been absolutely mooning over the past little while. And so I have some theories as to what is actually going on. We have some data as to potentially explain what's happening, but right now it's generally a murky situation as to why we've seen the price move so crazy. And so I want to help explain why that could be and some various theories and some speculation as to what we might be seeing here, as well as what we could see next coming from Tezos. Is it a good time to buy? Should we be getting out? All this type of stuff. Of course, I don't offer financial advice, but this is just my opinion and my take on the market as we are seeing it unfold right now. So I'm going to try to get this video out as soon as possible, get it edited, all that type of good stuff, so we can go through all of this and you guys can see it very quickly. But let's not waste any more time. Let's go on ahead and we'll jump right on in because there is a lot to cover today, going over this crazy move that we have seen coming through Tezos. So we can see right now happening as we speak, Tezos up 50% in the past 24 hours in an otherwise pretty rough market. We can see many altcoins selling off somewhat here. This isn't super surprising just because it is the weekend. As more and more institutions get involved, I think we will start to see weekends being a little bit more difficult times, particularly for altcoins. But I think just kind of generally, we can see here obviously some up, but the majority of the market down, having a little bit of a pullback, though the week and the month are still very, very green here. We can see on the month, Tezos up almost 2x here, a really crazy move. We'll get into the chart right now. And we can actually see the chart here looking really, really crazy. This is an insane move. This is actually only on the hour chart because I wanted to show it. The daily chart just shows like this just massive God candle. So I wanted to show on a little bit shorter time frame what we're actually seeing here. So there's a couple really important things we're seeing as we go. Higher highs, higher lows. The structures are looking really fantastic here. We can see right now in this range, this candle particularly, it's going to be interesting to see what it does. It's been super volatile, even in the past little while since I've been watching it and trying to come up with a plan to make this video. We could see it's gone down to like 99 cents. It's gone up to like $1.08. Like this candle's been swinging all over the place. So it will be pretty interesting to see how the candle closes. We can see here already well outside of the Bollinger Bands, in addition to being pretty overbought. Again, this is just on the hourly. If we do go to the daily, we can see still overbought, actually looking at a 91. And then we are, of course, way outside of the Bollinger Bands here as well. So potentially there's a bit of a pullback, but also there is some speculation that could potentially be leading to some of this wild price action. We can see it's been a pretty good move over the past little while with just an insane explosion happening today. So we're going to be talking about kind of, again, why this could be what we could be seeing here and really making sure that we're ready for what happens next. So we can see there is some news that came out just recently, talking about some various reasons as to what we could be seeing out of the Tezos rally. We can see there are obviously fundamentally bullish signals with some supports being broken. We can go back onto the chart and look at this a little bit more closely here in a second, but there's essentially a really strong institutional DeFi push. And this is something that we have seen very, very clearly over the past little while with things like Curve running pretty well, Pendle, Sky, which was Maker, so kind of Maker running similarly to that. A whole bunch of these kind of ETH DeFi things really having a pretty good time. And Tezos has something that is somewhat similar, and they started to move into this, which I think is why we might be seeing this type of run happening from Tezos. Now, of course, this is all super developing. We don't really know for sure. Generally, as is the case in many markets, price will typically start to move, and then we'll see kind of the reason as to why, kind of following that. And so I think that's kind of one of the situations we are in right now. But what we can see is they have this EVM compatibility bridge called on the Tezos. It's this layer 2 expansion through Etherlink, and so that they're essentially trying to get more integrated with the Ethereum ecosystem through Etherlink. And we have some news that we will kind of discuss a little bit later as we get to the X channels and what the Tezos and Tezos adjacent teams have been talking about here. We also can see here on Etherlink that they've been getting into RWA. They've been highlighting RWA focuses at their recent TezDev event too, which happened pretty recently. So we could see that happening here as well. A lot of different things. One thing that Tezos has been known kind of for a decent bit up until recently is digital art. So DeFi and digital art are kind of the two big ones that I think they're kind of they've been really hammering on recently, and we have started to see an RWA focus. And so there probably is going to be something coming out that's fairly impactful in kind of that range. If we do look at the chart and we go back here, there's a couple of also different things we can see from a technical perspective as well. We can see here, really strong point of support here. We've broken right on through. We've actually kind of broken through this next level of, I guess, resistance on both of these. I had a bit of a misnomer on calling it a support. You can see right now we are kind of running into this next level of resistance. And then of course, the kind of another big level of resistance is going to be up at this $1.46 range. So pretty strong move. Of course, with a move like this, we generally expect to see some level of cool down. It depends on how high we see this go first. And then ideally, it would probably be something like we see it come back and settle in this like 90-cent range. And then we look for it to make a further move to the upside. When we see these crazy God candles like this, it's always very hard to know exactly what's going to happen. It's generally pretty hard to know for sure, but when it eventually decides to kind of top out and come back, we will expect this to kind of start to pull back and consolidate a little bit, and then hopefully look for a further move to the upside. The other thing is, if you are looking for where we at on this whole Tezos move, let's look at the Google Trends. And we can see that the Google Trends have been pretty low, but we are seeing a pretty aggressive spike. We're not seeing anything like we saw back in the November-December timeframe quite yet, but we are seeing a pretty decent spike. And if we go back to look at the past 5 years and we start to track in the prior alt season, you can even see here the November-December timeframe is really nothing compared to what we saw back in 2021. So there is definitely still a decent bit that we could see kind of moving further along from the coverage on Tezos. So it's just going to be very important to kind of keep a close eye of what's actually going on here, and then we can go from there. Coming back to the chart, of course, we can see that things are, of course, looking really strong and really nice. If we go back to the hour, I want to focus on this a little bit more because we can see that, you know, it's a really volatile candle. There's a lot of indecision on where price is going to be going right now. So in my personal opinion, I would not be looking to enter a position in something like this, just because there's already a lot of indecision on price. We can see we've seen several really strong candles, and now this is the one where it seems like price might be starting to stutter. What I would be looking for personally, if I was looking to get into Tezos, like I kind of mentioned earlier, we can actually bring the pin out and we'll talk about it. Seeing something, we actually saw the candle just close. So we'll have to see what we're seeing here, but still a lot of indecision on price showing in this candle. What I personally would be looking for if I was going to be buying Tezos would be a little bit of a consolidation, maybe coming back, bouncing off of this key level of resistance that's now been hopefully turned into a support, and then a continuation back to the upside here. This would be very important, in my opinion, to see, because this does show strength from the chart, and we are continuing, again, higher highs, higher lows, right? I mean, it's very clear structure of what we've seen, and so we would want that to continue to happen here. So if you are interested in trading Tezos, you can go sign up for BloFin. You can see I do actually have a position open here on Plume. Still a little bit of a small position going on here, down a tiny bit, but we, of course, you know, we have seen kind of the whole alt market pull back a little bit. So not anything I'm too worried about right now. I will be watching Tezos very closely. As I mentioned, if we start to see a bit of a pullback here and then we start to see that bounce, could be a really fantastic place to be looking for a long. Even just tracking kind of recent highs that we've seen here could be a really nice kind of risk to reward type of play. So I'm going to be looking very closely at that. We'll see how it all turns out, but things are looking pretty good. Now going back, I wanted to wrap this video talking about what we've seen off of Tezos. Here we can see, of course, the Etherlink Midas RWA. This is kind of that integration that we were talking about, showing that they're kind of moving in the direction of RWA. We also can see a little further up here, really focusing on art on Tezos. You can see here, really kind of an important piece that Tezos has been focusing on is kind of that art factor. So this is something that I don't expect to continue to slow down. And then of course they do have the kind of the TLDR of what happened from the TezDev event that they were having. So nothing, as you can see, immediately recent that would indicate this type of move in price, because this is just happening within the past 4 or 5 hours. So nothing immediately recent coming from the Tezos team themselves, which is why I do think that this is something that the news will probably come a little bit later as we're starting to see this. So overall though, I did just want to cover this video today and cover what we're seeing coming out of Tezos, and maybe, you know, kind of give some insight of what I am personally looking to be doing as we see this Tezos trade unfold. I personally am not looking to be buying right now this second. I think kind of that break or the kind of retrace and then retest and then a bounce up to the upside is exactly what I would want to be seeing. So that's what I'm going to be looking for. But of course, you know, I don't have a crystal ball. It could 2x from here. Anything can happen. It is crypto. So you do need to make your own decisions. I cannot be responsible for the decisions that you make because I don't know your situation. I don't know anything about what you're doing there. So just make sure that you are being responsible. Also, if you are looking to trade on the links below, again, just make sure, be responsible. Don't do anything too crazy. If you don't understand leverage trading, you really should understand leverage trading before you start. It can be a very dangerous game if you don't know what you're doing. So just make sure that you do that if you are using the links below. Both links below do have demo trading accounts, so you do not have to trade real money if you are looking to kind of dip your toes in. Also, if you found the information in this video useful, a like and a subscribe, of course, really does help me out. And I'd love to hear more from you guys in the comments in the comment section below. I do read and respond to all of those. So if you have any other things, just drop them in there. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys in the next one.